Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Right, don't leave me.
Hello.
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 Hello?
This
Well,
thing on?
hi.
Well, if you're listening to this, you all know why you're here. Not for some hellos or hell yeahs, but for Always Strikes Last. One of the best podcasts related to Age of Sigmar.
No. One of the best podcasts, and you just leave it there, Jack.
Yeah.
One of
Yeah,
the
they
best.
don't need to verify. Yeah,
It's
dot,
dot,
dot. That's ambiguous enough.
All right.
right.
Fair enough. I guess we've escalated our claim, but I'm with it.
Yeah.
We are good.
We could just say we're the best audio recording that's happened this very moment in time.
man.
That's true. We're
That's
Exactly.
undeniable. That's real facts right there.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we can say we're the best triple time zone concurrent recording podcast active in Age of Sigmar today.
That's true.
Ooh,
That's true.
That's
That
true.
is unflappable.
Ah,
It's just like ITC points. You can always find a niche category that you are just crushing it in.
I don't mean to brag, but I think I'm the best. What was it like? I can't remember the faction name though. The other one, the book, not Big Wah. Not, you know the one.
I'm the best bone splitters player
I'm the best bone splitters.
there
player,
you
that's
go.
right.
There
in
you
the
go.
Northeast.
Don't mean to brag.
I'm currently third among Sons of Behemoth players that have only played one event.
That's right.
You love to
All
see it.
all right.
You love to see it early in the
Polish-
season,
polish
boys
the
and
belt.
girls.
Oh, good. Welcome to Always Strikes Last. I'm Miles. I'm joined by Matt and Jack, and of course, Rocco has come to join us for another episode. Welcome, Rocco.
Thank you. Happy to be
Welcome.
back here.
We are happy to have you.
Aw.
So we were gonna continue some themes from last time. We got into and then what else do we have today?
Oh, hey, that thing came out. It's the thing where they drop our points and then they give
Oh
us
my
new
God.
rules.
It
And
finally
then
came out.
Drop your points. Listen, some of us are cities players, and we've had the sword of Damocles over our head.
Good
Yeah.
sir. I made cities lists as well, and they were just fine.
You know, I know we call it the Battlescroll update officially, but I like to think of it as the freshening because it keeps the
Yes.
game fresh.
Yeah.
The freshening and the painting, the paininator.
It's
Mm-hmm.
That is
it's
true.
the armpit deodorant of the Warhammer Age of Sigmar.
That's right.
Wargamers use deodorant? What are you talking about, man? I've been in
Only the
those
elites.
stores.
Only
I
the
come-
elites.
I bring in a bottle of Febreze, man. It's
There
rough.
you go. Little water on the face,
Yeah.
you know.
Who
Mhm.
needs soap? Do better, people.
Just go around and spray your opponents with cologne. You know,
There
so
we
a
go.
little, go get that Drakkar
That's-
Noir, track it down, really just bring up the early thousands, late 90s to them, and then they'll feel
Oh,
fine
man.
about it, you know? They'll be like,
Oh, yeah, no.
everyone else?
That won't insult anybody. You're right.
Yeah, they'll just be like, oh,
I mean, given
Right.
the variety of game shops out there, some battlefields are more needy of that than others.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
this is true. This is true. But
Absolutely.
anyways,
But yeah,
So Battlescroll.
after
Battlescroll.
you know, much needed or much anxiety and waiting and contention,
Yeah.
it's here. It's finally here.
And really, to note on that, Miles, I think there was more anxiety and waiting than usual because the thing was delayed. I think we kind of expected it in December, and then they made that
Mhm.
announcement, right, that they were going to push it back, but it was
Yeah.
not on time.
No.
No, exactly. But it's here now, and that's, you know, and I don't really suspect we're gonna get another one of these before the end of the edition. I feel like this might be it, but
and I
I
think
think that's right.
that probably fed into that kind of feeling of angst, right? Like, oh, is this
Yeah.
going to be broken until we get the new edition kind of thing?
Mhm.
Or is,
Mhm.
you know, so corn players are all smiling right now.
right.
But,
yeah. I mean,
you
who
know.
knows? If Flesh Eater Courts really start dominating everything, I bet they'll still get a nerf.
That's true.
Yeah,
It could be like a
you know-
second fac or something like that, right? It wouldn't
Yeah,
even
yeah.
be weird.
Custom Flesh Eater Courts Battle Scroll.
Well, let me tell you, as the moderator of the Flesh Eater Courts Discord, they are all so happy. There are
Mhm.
500, 600 some odd people that jumped for joy at this.
I'm
That
sure
they
they
didn't
did.
get beat up in a back alley for their brand new book.
Oh,
No, it
the
seems like
opposite.
they made out like bandits.
I mean, the points drop for the zombie dragon unwritten was
Mhm.
kind of nice for people like that.
They're
Me.
feasting on it even.
Oh yes.
Ta-da!
Declare a feast day and celebration. Ah.
Yes, my lord.
They they don't seem like I never got the full summoning preview of them
Mhm.
bringing or recursion from them yet, but
Oh.
they don't seem that scary. They're not as scary as I thought they would be. I have
No.
nightmares of CJ
Mhm.
and English Spy from our Patreon. Go join our Patreon at
There we go.
/the Patreon. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Let's get it out of the way now so we don't forget about it.
You love to see it.
Always.patreons.strikeslast.com.
Yeah, whatever it is. I mean, you have Google, guys. It's easy.
Yeah.
I'm only halfway doing this.
And not to promote it too much, but if you join now, you get a special reward. Discord access.
Yeah.
Oh.
So like I went up against his list, and he's the kind of guy that likes to play, I'm gonna crush you on turn 2. And if I don't win the game by turn 2, then I'll probably lose. So he builds those kind of lists that are like, cool, I'm gonna table you and get all my objectives.
Nice.
And I have not really looked into the book because I don't really have it. I need to experience that. I'm that kind of player where it's like, oh, cool. I need to take a beating first to really understand the book.
Yeah.
They weren't as bad. The lack of rend there actually is really interesting that they kept on the knights. -1 rend only. Like they throw a ton of damage, ton of attacks, but cool. Let's bring back an Archaon at 1+ save. Sounds fine to me. I'll take it.
I'll say, because I've been playing around with them with my palette cleanser army, I think they have the tools to be truly terrifying, but they're just not the same as the old army, right?
Sure.
Yeah. This isn't the army when the second edition book came out where I'm like, okay, I need to buy 9 long strikes and shoot 2 Terrorgeist dead a turn.
Yeah.
This isn't that extreme, but the recursion, because there's a combo where you can have it so that instead of returning a knight to a unit, it's 1 deed point instead of 2. That you can, if you take like a unit of, but again, you have to fully commit to like a unit of 9 knights, and then they come back at half strength, and you could refill it up, and then you just send them out again. You have to be very aggressive with it, and someone described it to me as it's how they kind of wish ogres played, with this wall of meat going forward, but because of the recursion, because it's Death Army, you don't feel bad that you have no armor save, but you're just like purely wounds. Ushorin, he does his job. He's not, having played against him and seeing people again and seeing that Discord go on and on and on. He's not an auto take, but he's still very good for what he does, which is nice
also a
to
very
see.
pretty boy.
He's also
a very pretty boy.
The model is just purely like Dark Souls boss vibes.
It's true.
That
when I got back from my trip, I picked him up immediately. I have him down in my basement right now, ready for some assembly.
You get that bad boy locked up in the basement?
Ooh.
That's where he belongs.
I mean, the model itself looks like a book cover, which I think is just amazing. Like when they're able to capture that movement, that stance, like I think that model is probably one of the better ones they've put out in a while.
It's true. I don't know. I think even on the tabletop though, like I know he's not like an auto include win button beat stick, but he is such an enabler for that army when you're trying to manage points or get things to proc or just have like
the second illusion
line. Yep.
He's worth his points, even if he's not an auto include, which is odd to say. Games Workshop balanced them seemingly perfectly. He's just killy enough. He's just enough utility. He's just it's a good army. It's a great model. They did a great job with it.
And so fun.
There we go.
So
Rocco,
far.
no notes.
No notes.
And we correct me if I'm wrong here. This is probably going to be the last book before we go into the fourth, right?
Almost certainly, yeah.
I thought
We're
there
gonna
was
get
another one. Okay.
we might get. There's one more Realm Bringers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the little ones.
But this is every army book now has a 3rd edition tome.
Yeah. Which
Okay.
makes me scared because I haven't seen any rules that don't look like they work very well in this edition, which almost makes me feel like we're gonna lose the use of all those books, which makes me a little sad.
Yeah.
You guys
Do you think
remember
they're gonna,
Soulblight Gravelords?
Ravening
There
Hordes,
was the. Oh,
They're
go
gonna
ahead.
do the 40K reset index treatment.
Oh yeah, they
Ugh.
could.
That's always a threat. That's always
Yeah.
a threat. You gotta, buyer beware on that. That'll be the one way to turn all the flesh eater fans off real quick.
I don't
Yeah.
think they're gonna do that.
I hope they
hope
don't.
not.
We don't need it.
We don't. It's a refinement edition. I think what they're gonna do, and this is me putting my chips down, is they're going to add some kind of like rule addition or tweak, which gives some additional roles or functionalities. I bet you those lame foot heroes who do nothing but be bad duelists will now have a 40K like kind of, you can add them to a unit. They have some kind of general buff effect or something like that. It'll get added in. And then it won't break your book. It'll be like a 1-page addendum of how it changes the books that are out there. Then you'll be good.
And they'll change garrisons. As long as they change garrisons.
Garrisons are perfect, Matt. I don't know what you're talking about.
They make perfect sense.
No.
Sure.
You pick them up and you throw them at your opponent.
Yeah, we were on the we were going to be on the Battlescroll MVPs, but I think I before we move back to that, I think I still want to say Jack is the real MVP for calling out the garrisons by far are some of the craziest, strongest rules at the beginning of 3rd edition when we first started this podcast with him. Right? So
yeah,
I'm gonna forever underline that moment and go,
nice.
Yes, you were
Good
right.
for you remembering that far back too.
And I hate
Thank
it.
you, man.
yeah.
The past is a dim mist for me, but I'm glad I said a smart thing.
I have a labyrinth of useless pieces of information logged in my mind, but that's
so do the fans liking this podcast that know this reference.
There we go.
Yeah, come on, deep cuts here. But go on, Jack.
I was just saying, like, while we're on garrisons, this is the funnest mess up a table like rule combination to be to have one single piece of terrain which was interconnected within 3 to 5 inches to the entirety of the board, like like a labyrinthine set of like passageways or whatever, like a city board, and just declare it a garrison at the beginning of the game, so someone can immediately be in combat globally anyway. They rolled for it.
Do that with a 1-drop squig list, and you're good to go.
There were the tunnels.
The World's Rules Commission declared that they think that if you have faction terrain that is not normally garrisonable on 2 towers in the tundra, you can declare it as your wizard tower and it becomes garrisonable and arcane.
Okay.
Which leads to some very silly, like the garrisonable gnawhole, or the garrisonable, maw pit.
If you're garrisoning a gnawhole, are you just like peeking up above like the water line, like a bunch?
Yeah, I think you're dangling over the edge. You just got like fingertips off on the edge. Right?
You're just
the cutest little rat nose just points right up. You're like, yes, they're here.
Exactly.
Oh my god.
There are all those enemies in Dark Souls that like pull themselves up out of the well, and you're like, how long have you been hanging there?
Or like the guy.
I never played those games.
That is true though. It's like, I mean, sometimes you'll wander by like a crumbling parapet and there'll be like a guy who's been a soldier for like 1,000 years, who's lost his mind, who's been straight arming it. Just waiting for someone to wander by.
Not a gargoyle! Not a gargoyle!
Like, he's the real hero here.
Yeah, exactly. That man's grip strength.
Tore me right apart.
when he's not trying to kill you as a low-level mob, he's a rock climber, and so he was just in his training.
Hey, everybody's got to have their passion outside of work,
Absolutely.
3 points of contact, a little chalk on your fingers.
We're doing it.
So bringing it back to the battle scroll. What is everyone's? Should we go around? What's everyone's MVP from the battle scroll? Who came? We already know that Flesh Eater Court's made out like bandits, but who else is looking pretty spicy right now? Anyone want to go first?
I will go first.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm gonna have a cop-out MVP, but one I think is important. I think the real MVP is every faction who have units that need to get up close and personal, what are juicy blizzard targets. Those are the MVPs because the changes to the Wizard Finder Battalion give at least some chance to surviving an easy clapback from stuff like that.
Sure.
Yep. I'll agree. I will agree. And then they still retain the +1 attack, right? So
+1 attack if they're fighting a wizard. There's some weirdness there, for like big units where if they want to go wizard hunting, then they have to put all of their attacks into the wizard.
That's true. That's true. Infinitely better if the wizard's like an obvious target, like an Archon or something like that, and not like some little guy. But
if you have like a unit of squigs and they're into your front line where it's like a unit of infantry and a wizard, they're not going to get that bonus because they're not going to give up otherwise it would just be the wizard that would get to attack.
But when they're in that situation, like, is any reasonably small, squishy wizard going to send up to 2 or 3 squigs? Like,
no, probably not.
I mean, like, they don't need the +1 attack.
No.
It's only when it's like, oh, I'm Krondis, eat me. Then you want the +1 attack.
Yeah, then it cancels out his -1 attack. And then he all of a sudden becomes a little bit more paper thin. And a little more glass bones like. And it's good.
Yeah.
And also, I would say this as an elf lover. But as an underwater elf lover, those LRL have had it too good for too long. Give me all their units that are wizards.
Yeah.
Let me eat them.
Yeah, that's gonna hurt them pretty significantly, I would imagine.
Yeah. And they're doing fine in the meta. They didn't really need a shadow nerf kind of a sure.
I've got an MVP, and that is Gut Rot Spume.
Okay.
Down 20 points for no apparent reason.
Hop on the boat, baby. We're deep striking.
If I was taking him at 170, I still would.
Yeah,
he's pretty nasty.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, definitely an outside pick, but this is the one we're going to be talking about in 2 years about.
Absolutely. Look, let me just pitch for Gut Rot. He's got 7 wounds. He's got like a 3-up save. 3-up 5, 4, like a 4-up 5-up, whatever he's got going on.
He's got a cool little like tentacle.
8 attacks. The dude I've seen him clear 5 of the LRL riders. I've seen him clear Canary. I've seen him clear Stabas. I've seen him like whatever. You send him in, he's fine. You got a small back objective. Oh my god, Gut Rot just shows up with no one else and is like, I'm getting you Nurgle points, and I'm gonna cap these assholes on the back objective.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta look. I mean, he is the Nurgle entity most likely to be confused with a Pirates of the Caribbean villain.
Yes.
And he owns it.
Yeah. He's all about it.
And
what you got, Rocco?
Oh, I was going to say even more with the Magican stuff. Rotmeyer Creed went down 10 points. If you want a nice way to spread these points out quick with shooting, they got some really nice point reductions. All right. So do I continue being the wet elf lover that I am, or do I go with something? All right. So my other army here is Cities of Sigmar. That was I got the book actually as a first place prize at a tournament when it first came out. I had a Stormcast army, I had Empire, I had my Wood Elves, I had a book I could play all my stuff in. That's great. New book comes out, I'm refreshing all my stuff. Yeah, my old list was handgunners and crossbowmen. I'm like, oh, cool, Fusiliers, that's nice. They'll be okay in the new book. Lord help me. So the MVP yes, we took a nerf. Yes, we took a nerf. Get out of the way. We did. You got us.
Mhm.
The list that won LVO wasn't Fusiliers with the mortal wounds. You know, steam tanks. You still got us a little bit too. That's fine. That's fine. That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. But the saving grace for me, because I don't care that blazing weapons is melee only. Cool. If I'm taking knights, that stayed. I was worried that was just going to go on one unit and I'm screwed. But it's still an aura for mortal wounds on the Warforger. And the most important thing for me is the aura of +1 to save. Just as an ability, if you don't cast a spell with the Alchemite Warforger, stayed. So give me an aura, a 12-inch aura on like a 32 millimeter base that, you know, I could garrison, and then the whole footprint's the building. Just saying, if we're going to tag that back and call back the garrison bit.
Nice.
I can go and give out a big aura +1 to save without casting a spell or doing anything, just by existing. And my army now does, okay, cool. It does 10 less damage a turn because I'm not doing mortal wounds on 6s to hit. You're doing much less damage if I'm going to a permanent 3-up save.
Sure. And not to mention you're saving CP on all-out defense and stuff like that. Like,
yeah. Yeah, I had a CP problem with my list, in all honesty, because I was running the and I still am tomorrow. I have a tournament coming up, so this might not be an MVP for me come the weekend, but this is hopeful, Rocco, right now. I'm saving a command point for all out defense on somebody because I'm gonna castle up with my Warforger, who's my spellcasting savant still, who's going to go and hit all my stuff because I'm bringing mostly humans. And you know what? The elves I'm bringing have a sorceress, so they're on a 4-up ward. So I don't care. So I'm going to be on a 3-up save with a 5-up ward on all my human stuff. That didn't get touched. Come at me.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I can see that.
Mine are interesting because it's not a big change, but it was something that kind of made the rounds for a couple of war scrolls. Mine are Vanquishers for Stormcast Eternals. Ooh. They turned from a unit that is kind of subpar to a unit that can now blend. And they can blend really hard. So they were one of the couple of units like Zangors, and Gores and a couple of other units, Fire Slayers even.
They got the infantry.
Yep, 2-inch reach. Now, any of those I think got a lot better, but none of those other units are only 100 points. So Vanquishers are now 100 points for 5, 2 attack space, 3s and 3s to hit. So they're pretty, solid. -1 rend, 1 damage. You can add a curse. You can add exploding 6s to those with prayers. You can do a lot of things. They have a 5+ recursion, and they gain attacks starting at if your opponent has 5 models or more, they get an extra attack. If they have 10 or more models, they get 2 attacks extra.
Yeah.
So not only are they 100 points, which is nuts, but now you can blob them up and do what they were meant to do in the original idea of the list, right?
Yeah.
So my envisioning of them is just come down, either throw curse on something, throw, plus weapons or something. In a big blob of 15 of these, you have 2 big blobs of these, you drop them down. That's only 600 points. You can fill in your battle line wherever you want, but these 2 can just go down, be a giant soaking blob for whatever attacks you need to get into and kill off the front. So you're out of combat, rally right in the next turn, rinse and repeat, right? 2 large blobs throwing that many attacks. I think they're now probably one of the better units in the Stormcast book. We'll see how it goes.
I want to raise you on that, Matt, because if you add that with the Lord and Paradin's ability to drop a unit that has the new fancy armor, outside of 7 instead of 9 inches. The Thunderstrike, a Thunderstrike keyworded unit that has a wounds characteristic of 3 or less, because everyone does that for Annihilators. But if you want to surgically insert, 300 points, 15 models, it's like 60 something attacks when you get all the math out there. 7 inches away, which again, average on a dice roll. People don't screen out 7 inches, even still. With this hero's been around for 3 years, almost, and like
people don't screen out in general. But
yeah. You're right, Miles. We'll talk about that later.
It's a fair point. It's a fair point in this one.
But if they're not screening, you just drop them outside of 7 even, and you just click it, you point and delete.
Yep. Impermanents are great for that. Again, Ionis stopping battle shock means you can go in and delete. You can delete a lot of like blob units, right? You can drop 2 of those on top of a unit of squigs and delete them if you want. Like that's enough attacks to get that job done, especially if you can get curse off for extra damage or blessed weapons or anything like that. I think they're really good now. They're super good.
Meanwhile,
that's
future
fun.
Blight Kings sitting here with just as big as swords and 1 inch reach.
Hey, they're too slow. They'll go, ugh.
I felt the same way about the Chaos Warriors. I'm like, I thought for sure they'd like give them a little reach or something because weird long arms or mutations, or the fact that they're supposed to be good fighters, but nope, 1 inch range and big old bases.
Yeah.
Well, do they still have do they have the halberd still for reach?
Well, if you build them with the halberds, they do.
Yeah.
If you have like the traditional sword and boards, their profile is nothing crazy, right? It's 3 up, red -1 damage.
Yeah,
but
like tanky.
It's just tough because they had the fight in 2 ranks for a while, like with both the battalion and the other stuff, and then they went back to have 5 guys fighting and like it, or a couple more if you
you're feeling spicy.
Now you just have to continue honeycombing while vanquishers blob up on you. That being said, though, like I think Gores would be the better analogy for them, because Stormcast are primarily on 40 mils, so they get affected particularly harsh by a lot of these rules, as opposed to like, again, Gore or Zangor, which Zangor I would say were the ones that suffer the most from it, way more than Chaos Warriors, to be 100% honest, because they're only a 5 and up save. And comboing them in with Beast of Chaos, is better for them as melee potential, but you never see the unit on the board unless somebody's like gung-ho about it, right?
I don't know, Matt. I've spent too long in my life practicing that little honeycomb pile in for that to go away,
you
miss it. I was doing it even with the knowledge that I had 2 inch reach on my Gores for like the past couple of games. It's just like it's beaten into you,
I will say, because now you got my mind going, since we did list building last time, because I play for Stormcast, I do Hallowed Knights with my favorite hero in there, with my 5 up ward from Garda Steel Soul. But Hallowed Knights too, because they let Redeemer Infantry fight on death on a 4 up, and can also from Gardas get a 5 up ward. And you're telling me I can blob up a 15 blob of Redeemer Infantry and do all this stuff? You're making me for cheap? We got options, man.
It's wonderful.
Oh yeah, that's fun. I like that. There's a 4 up per model. Okay.
I personally enjoy Astral Templars because I love the look on somebody's face when they go to roll a monstrous,
can't
rampage. Sorry, guys, doesn't work.
Are those guys the blue ones?
The purple ones.
The Astral Templars, red and purple, I think.
It's like purple or like a magenta-y, or the red. Okay. The 3 colors people paint them as.
I'm a Ravens fan. Mine are painted like the Ravens, so
there you go.
Yeah. So lot of bonuses, a lot of fun
Mhm.
stuff. Got rot. Good job.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
MVP of my worlds list last year. Like no questions.
I
Yeah.
believe it.
Show up and ice a back objective and take it for me. No
Yeah.
problem. Or they'd spend an inordinate amount of time going and killing gut rot, in which case, loved it.
Even better, right?
Also a win. Also a win for sure.
Right? Because you like
Yeah.
if you send a 10-man infantry squad, just like your regular battle line, whatever, 5 liberators or 10 sentinels or whatever, you gotta send that off to go kill gut rot. That is not guaranteed.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And they're
Yeah.
diseased afterwards.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what the other MVP is that no one called out though that I want to just give like a special highlight to? Like the thematic play MVP, Corn, for finally putting down all this sorcery business that was happening.
Oh, thank goodness.
Let me tell you, I wanna hop on that too, if you don't mind, because so for Adepticon coming up, they have their big marquee event is they have a teams doubles event. So it's a team of 4 players, you pair up. My team this year wanted to do Chaos Corrupted Orcs, which is actually on my painting table right now. I've got 31 of 37 models done. I'm very happy. Bright blue skin. I used Cruel Boys mixed with Carrick Acolyte bits to they're actually really compatible with it. The
Nice.
crazy thing is with Nurgle, with Zinch, me, and Slanesh, we like spells. Ah, that's weird, right? But we always have to play with a corn player.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, I went from like, oh, cool, yeah, man, I'll be like that army of renown, whatever, coming or the battle regiment renown. Just be me. That's my 1,000 points. Yeah. I'm now dreading, like, hey man, it says you don't gotta roll the 5 up, right? He's like, not for the narrative.
Yeah, right.
You want that soft score, right, John?
I definitely had an opponent. He brought the whatever the Coven Throne of Thrix or whatever it's Coven of
Yeah.
Thrix.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
the Governor Thrix.
Yeah.
In the Corn Army, just so that he could go for magical dominance,
I mean,
and then rolled the 5 up.
oh,
Good.
Yeah, I know,
That's
right?
where I say good.
yeah,
Good.
yeah.
I don't care how friendly you are.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where, like, Corn should look at any of these allied wizards, the covens, and be like, you don't even go here. And that should be it.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're right.
We will keep you here till 4. Yeah.
Oh.
Uh,
No, it is something that needed to happen. Putting wizards in corn just doesn't seem right at all.
Yeah.
And I'll cry about my doubles thing later. It's okay.
It'll be fine. I think Nero can get away without spells. You don't really need it.
Yeah, but I'm Zinch, man.
Oh well, yeah, fair enough. I mean, now you're screwed. But like,
Yeah, no, I'm Oh,
I do love the fact that you're literally hemmed into it by your doubles game, where you're going to have to always roll for that 5 up. Like, cool.
yep.
Thanks for
This is-
showing up.
This is where I'd summon a Lord of Change if I had one. Yeah.
I mean, so Zangors have a 2-inch reach now. I mean, there's always that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm playing Kyrix and Skyfire. But yeah. Zangor,
Sky-
but
Oh, go
you
ahead.
go.
Skyfires are interesting. Skyfires are interesting. Just 1 shot each is sad at 4 and up. Come on,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah. But
I
that's
hope you
the
got Bolt
speed.
Boys on discs. That would be
Oh,
amazing.
dude, yeah. They're Bolt Boys with the Zangor head on a disc.
Nice.
Love it.
Crossbow out.
Same
Those are
one
the-
shot.
1 shot, 1 kill.
Oh,
baby.
that's
it.
got to look great. That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. I'll even get up and show y'all. But that you can't see it at home. But and these aren't done yet. I just got the skin. I'll turn my light
This
on.
is like when Doc Brown is like, "Oh, I didn't have time to paint it." Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
yeah, that's
cool.
great.
Yeah, that seems like as intimidating as those bows should be for the Skyfires.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We lost his mic.
Uh-oh.
Who's Mike? My mic or Rocco's? Yeah.
Rocco's.
Yeah.
He probably can't
Oh
hear us either.
no, he can't.
Well, you can decide whether we leave this in later or not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see.
Sorry, my mic crapped out on me. My bad.
That's okay.
Oh, you're back.
no
You're
worries.
back. No worries.
I'm back. I'm here.
We found you.
I will post it in the Discord because there's no way in hell that was going to actually be viewable.
Totally fair. Yeah. Check it out in the Discord.
Nice.
If you're
You want to see
Patreon
these cool
member.
conversions?
Yeah, if you're a
Yeah.
Patreon member,
Absolutely.
you'll be able to see this
Mhm.
amazing
Yeah.
thing.
I mean, really, what kind of thing would we be if we didn't plug? I'm a good guest. I'll plug you.
That's what we
really,
appreciate about you.
No, and really, all it just goes to helping us pay for Podbean every year. You know, like that's really the we're not making any we're not getting rich off this podcast.
No.
Yeah. You know, can't get that bottle service at the Warhammer Club yet.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So outside outside of the MVPs here, of which we have quite a bit.
Yeah.
We were talking last time about army composition and how to build, and we just did not have enough time for battalions.
That's right. Which ones you choose and why? Are they essential to your cause? Are they like a spicy extra as an afterthought? Let's all discuss.
Maybe they're giving you a 5-up spell ignore all of a sudden.
Let's start.
Dude.
Let's start with that.
Dude.
I mean, oh my god.
Yeah. Start with the General's Handbook ones. Let's go. Wizard Finders.
Well, I guess for me, it goes to a bit of a theme, right? I mean, I think of a battalion as one of two things: either nice to have or essential to a strategy. Most of the time, it's a nice to have, but sometimes it goes the other bucket. Examples of that would be: I want a 1-drop for reasons. That's essential to your strategy.
Right.
This new Wizard Finders thing, it's probably not quite as elevated to that, but I do think that it has a new level of functionality it didn't before. Like a +1 attack situationally is nice to have if you have drops that go in there. But in an environment with Blizzard, the number of times that you have a really good Blizzard target whose nature is getting close to things where there's going to be a wizard within 12 inches, like almost unavoidably, if you want them to go commit to something. They didn't have any protection shy of the Blizzard getting dispelled before now. And now there's a chance that they can sort of almost corn their way out of it. I mean, from personal experience, I play a lot of Slaves to Darkness, and 10 blocks of Chosen, and there have been a disturbing number of times when the Chosen have been eradicated by Blizzards because I had to bring them into something for their role to be fulfilled near a wizard.
Yep.
Yeah, and I could skate around it, but yeah.
I think I took 20 mortal wounds on a Gargant from a Blizzard. He was fine, but
I get on average maybe about 16 mortal wounds. It's usually enough to wipe the first charge from a Dragon Ogre unit that has already been shot or messed up on its way in. Yeah. And it's usually enough to clear that unit after they've gone in, made their attacks, and then it's the inevitable failure of prio on my part, right? Sorry, Dragon Ogres. I just keep letting you down. But I think that goes a long way towards keeping your bigger blocks. Vanquishers would actually be great in that because they're going to be up right next to a wizard that has a
and even if it's not Blizzard, there's plenty of good damage spells or killer spells or just nasty debuff spells out there that
And to also go into this too, to fill out the battalion, you need a champion that is a hero that has less than 10 wounds, does not have a mount, with the exception of companions, and also is not unique. And then you have infantry, which are 4 wounds or less. Again, not the leader role, not artillery, not behemoth, does not have mounts. And then you can have a monster as well. So that's, again, a good way to protect something even like the turtle in Deepkin.
Sure.
and then you've got a bunch of thralls or the archer blob that you bring, because you can have 2 units of that infantry, and then all of a sudden you've protected a lot of your stuff, even with the champion in there that you're taking. If you're bringing a thrall master to go and buff or debuff your opponent, or buff the Marty, debuff your opponent trying to hit him. It's very useful if you're not wizard heavy yourself and bringing auto unbinds or that kind of thing.
Sure. I also think, to Jack's point, thinking about battalions as either a must-have or a nice-to-have. What are some times they need to be a must-have?
Maybe the other battalion in the book. I mean, the Wizard Finders of Antor. I mean, like the math on the bonus dice kind of means that if you...
I mean, the Andorian Acolytes.
Oh, I forgot what they called it. Yeah.
It was still a good segue, Jack. Listen, I'll give you your bonus points on that. That was a good segue.
That was pretty good.
I didn't stick to landing, but I landed it.
Yeah. Superhero landed a little rough on the knee.
-2 points. I stumbled over the line.
Yeah.
You try to do a triple backflip in this gymnastics competition, judges.
Exactly.
And then I face plan every time. So,
but on the point of the Andorian acolytes, yeah, I mean, like if you want to make sure your spells get off, or you want to make sure you have dispels in this kind of environment, you kind of have to take it, or you're really down.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Again, it's 3 up to 3 hero, at least 2 up to 3 heroes that have a wounds characteristic of 10 or less. They don't have a mount. It's not unique, and as long as you have 2 or more alive in the battalion at the start of the hero phase, you roll a dice. On a 3-up, you gain a primal dice.
Yeah.
No,
and that's just having those extra primals is so good.
Yeah.
It's another chance to roll a double and make your spell just completely unaffected by your opponent, right? I get that pulled on me all the time because I'm a stickler for like 2 battalions and only 2 battalions in general, just because of the way that I write lists. But also, like, it does kind of turn those little wizards into massive targets, because I found just in my opponents that those little extra wizards that fit into those battalions are already the Blizzard wizards, right? They're the ones that it's like, okay, these are gonna be the sacrificial lambs for if I roll 3 1s or something, right?
I was about to say there, Matt, if you have a third wizard that you were thinking, even though it is going to be an extra drop, it is sometimes a good idea to put that third wizard in the battalion, because one of your wizards is going to blow up.
Yeah,
exactly.
It can go away.
And so, like, if you're like me, somebody who does not like rolling his dice because they usually end up not good, the hunters. What was the? We were just see. Here's my
over the 2 retreats.
Phase.
The
other battalion. Wizard Finders. Wizard Finders are great against that specifically, right?
Yeah.
So there's a couple of like points there, but like, yeah, that I'm so ready for no more wizardry. So ready.
You don't like them primal dice?
Oh. They'll find something new to get you really irritated about, Matt. Don't you worry.
It's just going to continually be, no, we will not like cavalry. We will not release a cavalry battalion. They're just going to continue on that. Anyway.
Fire Slayers get screwed again.
Yes. Give me some Senegors. I want Shield Maidens on Baby Magmadross. I know they can make little salamanders for Kroot. I know with the dude throwing the spear. That's all I wanted for Fire Slayers.
You just put a naked dwarf on top of that. It's like
that's it. Yeah.
You could even have naked dwarfs riding naked dwarfs, call it cavalry, make them go just a little bit faster than normal because it's 4 legs instead of 2 legs, and that will be fine.
Bring me back the goblin hewer axe thrower.
2 or 3 dwarves in like the one piece of clothing that they have in the hold, which is the trench coat.
They all share one. I feel like we're kind of dancing around the elephant in the room of battalions, which is the battle regiment, and like
Yeah.
when do you need to be one drop or low drops, and when does it not matter? Right. I think that's the
Ooh.
big pivotal question on battalions.
Yeah, and this goes back to our previous list building too, in how you build a list with these different battalions is does your army need to go first or do you not care about your drops? And if you're like, well, cool, I'm gonna build a one drop army and make my opponent go first, they can move up and then I can try to double them. Cool, great. This is your home, the battle regiment where it's you've got a commander, then you can have up to 2 sub commanders or 10 wounds or less. The commander doesn't matter its wounds. Then you've got 5 troop choices, a monster, or the artillery piece there that no one really brings half the time, and half the time your monster can be a troop choice, so it doesn't fit the monster slot. But the thing is, if you want to be a 1 or sometimes a 2 drop, because this is a battalion you can take 2 of.
Sure.
And you want to be low drops, this is where you live. This is you're like, cool, I'm going to try to alpha strike you, or I'm going to set up a plan. I've got this whole thing. But
maybe you don't have any good turn 1 battle tactics if you go first, and so you need to be going second every time.
Yeah.
To make sure you have a battle tactic every single game.
Maybe you're not a wizard heavy army, so you need to get out ahead of them, right?
Exactly.
Sure.
So that's primarily why I've been using the 1 drops, is because, again, I'm not a wizard heavy army. I'm in a wizard heavy meta. I know that I want to be able to at least start the momentum going. And that can either be, it's always going to be dependent on your matchup. But generally, we like to take second turn if we have the first drop so that we have the potential for a double turn right out of it, right? But like, setting the tempo is very easy when you have control of who goes first.
Yes.
Then it's your turn to fail, right? Which
you're right.
Which with a 1 drop is always something to consider. That also, one of the other things you kind of want to think about when you're doing a 1 drop is you're going to be showing your plan right away.
Yeah.
If you are outdropping your opponent, then they're going to know exactly what you are setting up to do, especially if they are, at the point where you're in a mid to high table level, if you're at a tournament, or if it's, your bud that you practice with all the time and you have just decided to move to a 1 drop. They're generally going to know either from your personality or the list that you built how this is going to go down. Right.
And to that point, Matt, even just the nature of the battalion, because it's so few elements, it's more something you can tell what they're supposed to be doing together, right? You have 5 troops, you have 3 heroes, and maybe a random thing. That's it.
Yep. And the other thing that you want to be aware of, right, when you're building a 1 drop, is that's the only bonus you get. This is one of the battalions where you don't get the access to another CP. You don't get the access to an extra artifact. You don't get a free all-out attack or charge, right?
No cool extra rule for you. No 5-up spell ignore here.
So that list has to be pretty solid in its idea of what it wants to do, and you have to be able to follow through with it. I find 1 list or 1 drop or 2 drop lists incredibly infuriating because I have the attention span of a weeble. I don't know.
I don't even know what that is.
Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down.
Yeah, that's true.
Like I've heard the word before. I cannot picture that in my brain.
It's a tiny little cute bug. You should look it up. They have adorable eyeballs.
Gross.
Yeah.
Nice. A lot of reactions to that one. Different.
I think another thing that's interesting, when we're talking about army building and battalions, if your plan is to go first, you need to be okay with 40% of the time getting double turned.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to happen. 40% of the time you're going to get double turned.
You got to hit them so hard, or you've got to do the whole, cool, I'm taking first, I get my easy battle tactic, I toe tap an objective just enough to do 1-2 more battle tactic, and then 1,800 points of my army takes 1 big step backwards and hopes that my opponent moves to the middle of the board And then if they double turn me, it just feels like they had one long turn, not two punishing turns
Sure.
against me.
Exactly.
Yep. But suppose there's also the element of control you get the battle regiment is to ensure that you can go second if you want to, right? You don't always have to go first or to alpha
True.
strike. You can just make sure that you always are the person who is not in the position to be double turned. I think PKO, that's especially important sometimes.
Yeah, no, exactly. Any of those armies where they do most of their damage not in the combat phase, like some Tzeentch builds are like this, not all of them, KO, any shooting army, really shooting heavy army, right? Where you're doing, because the combat happens on both turns, but
shooting and wizardry only happens
your
on
turn.
once.
Spellcasting only happens during your turn. So making sure you can pace out how often those happen is really critical.
Yeah, and again, for me, it's a rule of thumb that I have on my channel where if you are the shooting army, you generally want to go second. There has to be there are exceptions to the rules, but you got to find the exception because a lot of the times it's just if you can get 2 rounds of good quality shooting onto something, you will do too much damage and the game you'll cripple your opponent's army. They won't be able to score if you're smart about it. And that's that whole punishing double turn that everyone gets. They hear horror stories about Age of Sigmar with. It doesn't always happen. It probably didn't even happen half the time.
One thing we practice gearing up for like Worlds or Six Nations is like aggressively giving away a double turn. Okay, I'm a million drops. You made me go first. Cool, you can go. Cool, you can go again. And now I'm back in the momentum seat.
Yep. With my battalions, with my extra rules, my extra artifacts, my extra stuff. Like, cool, you burned an early double turn. Like I was saying, like that. You just move a little bit back. It confuses people because like, oh, this is the melee game. You run up to the middle of the board and fight each other, right? That's how this works.
No, this game is about scoring points.
But to that note, though, if you're playing a movement or combat centered army, you should always 100%, even if it's only 40% of the time, expect to be doubled on that turn.
Yes.
Like you cannot play it's kind of funny to say now because the hero phase has turned into its own shooting phase for a lot of the armies right now, as well as the shooting phase, right? So if you are the gung-ho idiot like me that just wants to play combat and movement and not worry about shooting, you need to expect to be doubled on every turn that it's possible, and you need to play thinking in that way. Because if you don't, then you will be caught out, and with the prevalence of shooting and hero phase just destruction, it can go really wrong really quickly. So it pays to be even more cagey for a combat army in a lot of these situations than it does to be cagey as a shooting army. Like you need to know when you're going to gamble on that side. So
I'd like to add on to that too, that like going back to list building, when we were talking about having these screens and having these layers and having these units that were anvils that were durable to be able, this is why they needed to be durable. This is why you needed to have an outer layer of schmucks to go die for the cause. You need your pawns to go and protect your bishop, your rook, your knight, the whole bit, because if you do get double turned, some of your stuff has to die by the end of it, just by accident. It's a dice game. Your opponent, they will eventually roll good enough to kill some stuff. What are you willing to sacrifice in order to get through that?
Right.
And it's why if you're doing the melee build, you need your blood reapers for a corn army to just go and die. You need something. You need corn hounds. You need the fangs of Karanak or whatever, the war cry.
They went up in points.
Oh yeah,
they did. Because people kept taking them for this reason. They die horribly, wonderfully, and they get you a blood tithe point.
Yeah.
They are pros at dying. You need to go and make sure you fit something like that.
A+ dyers. Yeah.
No notes, no nothing. Do the Will scream whole bit.
But to raise that even more, the thing that you can do instead of doing your ABCs is make your opponent have to make hard choices, right? If you're capping every objective on, or like 5 objectives on a 6 objective mission, your opponent's now stuck with the choice of, am I going to have to split to deal with the 2 on either side here? Am I going to have to move further? How am I going to get the 3 points instead of 2 for holding more, right?
Yep.
Like, you want to make sure that you're presenting the most opportunities for your opponent to have to make decisions, especially if you're doing movement and charging armies, right?
Sure.
The more decisions they make, or the more decisions they have to make, the higher the possibility is that they're going to make the wrong one, right? It's just law of math.
It's just like
math.
Yeah.
Just like Blood Bowl, make your opponent do the risky thing.
Make them roll dice, make them make mistakes. And even then, if you present them with like 4 or 5 options, and they're all good options on their own, but it's like, wow, now the good option feels bad because I can only do 1 or 2 of these and not the other 3. And then I'm just in my own head going, all right, which hurts worse? Which hurts me, the player, less by ignoring? What can I afford to ignore? What are my threats ahead of me? But it's just to feel the threats, nothing feels correct.
Yeah, that I think is very fair. It also kind of feeds into, in terms of the battalions and how you choose to buy or not buy them. What I think is really interesting about like the big choice between trying to get to that 1 drop or as close as you can to it, like going like, battle regiment, or just getting a bunch of other battalions to get some spicy extras, an extra artifact or an extra command point, and just getting more elements on the table, because that makes all that so much easier. If you're against the battle regiment guy, he has that priority on you maybe, but he has his 5 elements. If you have 12 units before your heroes, you can afford to be everywhere all at once, and those choices have proliferated for the person in the other position.
Absolutely.
Which very much leads me into my favorite battalion, which I almost always take unless I'm stuck in the idea that I have to play a 1-drop. The Warlord Battalion.
Yeah.
Warlord.
Yes.
Warlord gives you essentially 1 CP free per game on your turn, not your opponent's, and the choice of an enhancement. And so what you can do here is you can double up on your artifacts, really just build a contingency point to move forward on, right? You can now have an arcane tome without it feeling like, oh my goodness, I'm not going to have the needed upgrade for that one thing that makes my army tick correctly. And unless you're playing Seraphon or Gits or something, like, see, command points are, they're still, armies are very hungry. So
no, and it's not just artifacts, right? It's an enhancement. It can be spells, it can be prayers, it can be extra mount trait,
extra banner.
Yeah, exactly. There's all sorts of things you can take with an enhancement. So it's really fantastic. And then there's the command entourage, which is the poor man's warlord, for when you only have three heroes and no unit. That's
3 heroes, no unit.
Such a rarity. You actually don't have that, but yeah.
yeah. But if you need to get both, that's
trying to live my 4-drop life, man.
You get either or. You either get the CP or you get the enhancement.
Yeah.
And then I think I had like 4 or 5 battalions in my. It was got to be 4 in my my most recent Big Wild list. I had Warlord, Antorian Acolytes, and then 2 Iron Jaws Fists.
Whew.
And there's a bunch of, obviously it's going to be army dependent. If you're playing Skaven, 2 warlords are actually a great idea. Remember that you can double up on the basic ones, right? You just can't on the GHB. So 2 warlords brings you 2 different enhancements. That can also be inspiring presence. What's that? Courage.
Triumph.
Triumph. You can get an extra triumph.
So that can be super important.
Yeah, you still have to build your list to be down so many points to try to
Right.
ensure you can use the 2 triumphs, or else it feels bad that you bought it and you can't use it.
Yeah.
Uh,
But that was the gets trick, right? With the double hurt is you'd
Yeah.
purposely be like 1925 on your list.
mhm.
Yeah.
Make sure you were getting your 2 triumphs that you paid for.
Yeah, just don't bring
Yeah.
endless spells that you'd normally throw in there at an awkward
Yeah.
points total, and like, yeah, no, I'll probably get it. But
yeah.
also some like quick honorable mentions. I know we're a little short on time. The line breaker battalion, where it's a leader and at least 2 monsters, up to 3, to
Mhm.
issue once per battle a free all-out attack or all-out defense without spending a command point. Vanguard, which is again the sub commander and 1 to 3 troops, excuse me, where once per battle you can get a free at the double or forward to victory, which is an automatic 6 to run or a reroll charge, which is nice. The Grand Battery that I don't know, maybe a Skaven player might take one day, but probably not. But
I don't know anybody with enough artillery. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
true.
Yeah, Matt's waving.
Okay. Where it's again the foot hero and at least 2 up to 3 artillery pieces, where once per battle you can receive a free all out attack or unleash hell. Again, they're not that common, but there are places for it. Like it also in like a teams format, if you cannot have duplicates of battalions, I know I generally default to a vanguard myself to go and have my troop choices, because I playing like Deepkin Eels or Knights in Cities, where even Shelly Baby Girl, my beloved turtle, ends up being a troop choice. There's some contention on that because it's still a behemoth, but some places let it, and it's weird. But these other battalions that aren't as popular still have play, just in different ways.
And much like also the ones in your book, almost every book has some battalions, and outside of like Sons of Behemoth, I can't think of any army where those are like auto takes, but and only because Sons of Behemoth is such a weird lopsided army that they don't fit into regular battalions, so you might as well take the giant ones.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, if you have the opportunity to put any extra units in battalions, why not, right?
Yeah, especially once you're.
I was raising my hand there on the artillery one because I take 4 plague claws, right? So I can throw a bunch of plague claws in. If there's an area debuff, or if there's some sort of -1 to hit, I get right back to a 2+ to hit for one of those units, right? That increases
huge.
Yeah, that increases the ability of that unit in that instance, right? It allows you to kind of like reach for a more take all comers kind of mentality, depending on the list that you're building.
The one thing I'll say about some of those secondary battalions is I like using them too, Matt, but I think that notably, this is a pilot error potential thing, not like a problem when using the battalions. But when you have a bunch of those floating around, it's real easy to forget about the conditional buff you can sometimes grab, from that battalion.
Sure, yeah.
And for that, I will always say, especially if like you're a newer player, AOSreminders.com.
Very fair.
Go and just practice that. I still make a habit to do that, even with like my Stormcast army that I have played for 5 years now. I will still go and print out lists, especially when I'm at a tournament, because that's when I'm like second game in, in a 3-game tournament. I know that's going to be my slump round, right? That's always when I'm like, my back, gray hair popping out, right?
The endorphins haven't kicked in yet, and you're just like, why do I do this to myself?
Just having that sheet there means that you can like quickly run through it either before your turn, so you can be like, hey, do any of these like work in this situation, and that helps you just be ready for the turn and respond to your opponent, or B, just running through it as you're doing your stuff to have it right there as a quick glance. You're not forgetting anything. It's helpful. I think it's probably one of the most underrated things that I wish I'd see at every tournament. So somebody could actually just hand me their list.
Sure.
So that I could see it, right? To know what they can do.
One thing the Swedish team had it at Six Nations, and we're thinking of implementing it, is they had little note cards with all of their allegiance abilities on them, you know, and all their spells and all their battle tactics and stuff like that. So it's like, hey, let me see that rule. They can just hand you the card, you know? It's like, boom, there it is. There's no flipping pages. There's no nothing. And it's just a reprint of what's on the, you know, then summarizing. It's just exactly, here's the exact verbiage. There you go. You go read it.
It's a nice one-sheeter to cut down like that rules fog and the delays and all that stuff. That's cool.
Yeah, what we really should do is just have one dude show up to each tournament with a printer that prints out for each list an AOS reminder, so he can hand it to each person and be like, here's the list you could possibly face, right? Just completely cut out the knowledge gap, make it so dum-dums like me will just, they'll know what's going on.
Notably, for the listenership, this show is not yet sponsored by AOS Reminders, but we should probably have them listen to this episode.
It is a wonderful
on that
tool.
Sweet AOS Reminders money.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they made it big. That's when we'll see the sea change.
But no, any even if you're making it yourself, any little tools and stuff, like I still play with battle tactics cards. They're great. I'm making them for the whole team. Like I can't recommend them hard enough. Make yourself some battle tactics cards. Remind you what battle tactics you have available during the game.
Yeah. And to further that point, like with the battalions and battle tactics, there are some battalions that will help you, like getting a reroll charge, right? You need to remember that you're going to have that. So if you want to have two units charge in to retreat, having that extra
whatever it's called,
extra reroll charge in your back pocket is great. And like build around it all kind of goes back to like, what is your list going to do, right? What are you setting out to do when you build your list? The battalions are a big part of that, while still feeling like an afterthought sometimes, right? Outside of the one drop, they can provide you with that.
Sorry, I wanted to mention that those effects of the battalions that give like a free all-out attack or a free reroll charge, those are received commands that were not given, and therefore someone else can still give those commands somewhere else, right? So you can effectively have 2 all-out attacks one turn, or 2 reroll charges one turn. And if that is something that your army, like you're like, oh man, I really wish this, like I consistently find that there's one turn every game where I need 2 all-out defenses, like that is a key to be like, okay, let's look at a battalion so that I have that for when I need that one turn that I consistently need it.
Yeah, that's super important. I keep forgetting that, right? That's the problem.
It's a fun little,
Yeah, no, people freak, it's right there. It says does not count as being said, or does not cost a command point.
I had triple all-out attack with my double Iron Jaws fists.
So fancy.
Living the dream.
Exactly. I think maybe we've come to a good place. What do you guys think?
I think so too. We had a little discussion, had a little derailment, talking about the battle scroll. I think we learned something along the way.
I feel like, we got it all in. We learned something along the way. It's about the friends we made, right? And
and the fact that garrisons are still horrible.
Garrisons are
still good.
No TO's putting out enough terrain to garrison it. It needs to be more.
Should be 2 on every table. Two small garrisons on every table. Hashtag 2 garrisons.
My next tournament, I'm just going to have like a do not adjust the terrain table with like that structure I described earlier called the "You're locked in here with me" table.
Nice.
I'm just gonna set it up so that's possible and see who abuses it.
Got to do it for the 4th game of each GT is just So this whole table is a garrison now. Who brought the one drop?
Yeah. Sounds good. Well, hey, Rocco, thank you so much for joining us for yet another fantastic episode.
Second in that, Rocco. Second in that.
Third.
Thank y'all for fourth. Thanks for having me. Very happy to be here. Got to do this again sometime.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And thanks everybody for listening all the way to the end.
Thank you, dear listener.
As always, please tell your friends, your relatives, people who don't even play Age of Sigmar. Have them listen, subscribe, promote it. Fanatically.
Exactly.
No pressure.
Yeah, like us, subscribe us on YouTube, and all the fun stuff.
You can watch stock footage of Chaos Bane while you listen to us on YouTube.
Yeah, because why not?
Yeah.
Hey.
If that's something you need in your life, it's there in spades.
Look,
every episode.
Sometimes
it's
I
not
just want to
stock footage.
see someone else with a little dwarf run around and kill Nurgle guys. Like that's all I really need.
I just want to say it's not stock footage. I didn't know how to play that game, and I've had it for forever, so I finally started playing it.
Okay.
And I got stuck trying to kill one monster over and over and over, and inadvertently leveled up to the point where the entire game is easy now. I just go to an area, I hold a button, and everything dies.
Nice.
Because the dwarf is just the best now, because I've leveled him up stupidly because I didn't know how to play.
Footage. It's actual footage of Matt Davison playing Chaos Bane.
Yeah,
yes.
like
very poorly.
Or Matt grinding in a medium level game.
Very, very poorly. Playing it very poorly.
You love to see it.